Well, the National Convener to the United Nations and UNESCO's Transforming Education Summit, Dr. Michael Boakye-Yiadom, has submitted his final report on Ghana's actions towards transforming education post-Covid-19. He was tasked to conceptualize, monitor, and execute final output of national consultations. In all, 5 stakeholders consultations were held with feedbacks taken, including one specifically designed for the youth and persons living with disabilities. His tenure in office has elapsed and demands he presents a final report. Samuel Mbra has more.
In June 2022, the Director General of the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration, Dr. Michael Boakye-Yiadom, was appointed by the President as the National Convener for the 2022 United Nations UNESCO Transforming Education Summit. The National Convener's work was to solicit inputs and feedback from Ghanaians on Ghana's actions towards transforming education post-Covid-19. The inputs from various stakeholders were used to craft Ghana's commitment statement that was presented by the President of Ghana at the summit in New York from 16th to 19th September 2022. The National Convener, in presenting the report on Ghana's participation in the pre-summit and summit to the President through the Minister of Education, stressed on the need to invest in the education of the youth.
The convener and his team have made these brief 5 recommendations as post-TES recommendations. So 1, that the government demonstrates commitment to domestic financing of education to give more meaning to the President's status as champion of domestic financing of education. 2, that the Ministry of Education tax the National Commission for UNESCO at the Ministry of Education and the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration at the University of Cape Coast to advise government on the implementation of the commitment statement. The said institutions will also monitor progress of implementation and prepare reports on achievements towards reporting to the United Nations through the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education identifies selected youth in tertiary educational institutions in Ghana to serve as champions and advocates for Ghana's commitment statement to the Transforming Education agenda. These young men and women will then work closely with institutions identified in Bullet 1 and then to implement the tenets of Ghana's commitment statements. And then 4, Ghana's political leaders position the youth as a strategic partner and resource for education transformation. And finally, the youth empower themselves through education to enable meaningful participation in the transforming education dialogue in Ghana. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the recommendations that we have made, which we believe would help us achieve the various steps and action items that we set for ourselves after the Transforming Education Summit. So, as Mrs. Nekwe-Tete indicated, we are here briefly to share these recommendations with all of us, remind ourselves of the task ahead. We know we have done a lot in education. A lot of targets have been achieved in education in Ghana, but we still have a lot of work to do. So this is a reminder that we have work to do, and these recommendations, we believe, will serve as a guide moving forward.
The main summit was held in September 2022 in New York City. Ghana's delegation was led by the Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Osei-Edichum, to present Ghana's commitment statement to the UN General Assembly. Receiving the report from the National Convener, Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Edichum, promised to implement the recommendations in the report to transform education in the country.
Of our nation. So we invite all of you to join us as we take our stock of what we've done and move forward with the report from the Transforming Education Summit, and make sure we live through to the suggestions that have been proffered and move forward and change our education in Ghana as we know it. I'm excited that we are at this place at this time. I want you to know that if we don't reflect on the past, we can't move forward. We may not be where we want to be, but we are nowhere close to where we used to be. And that is the consolation that we have.
Transforming Education Summit is a key initiative launched by the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, in September 2021, which aims at bringing together global, national, and local stakeholders and actors. It offers the opportunity for inclusive, networked and effective global dialogue on the types of coordinated actions needed to reverse the slide on progress towards SDG 4 to ensure that lessons are learned from pandemic responses for resilience, social prosperity and environmental sustainability in the post-COVID world, and to think big on how we can imagine education systems for the future. From the Education Ministry here in Accra, reporting for JoyNews, Samuel Mbura.